In the vibrant community of Umuri in Imo State, there lived a king whose name resonated far and wide, Izobina Ekechukwu. He was a ruler whose kindness, wisdom, and strength of character made him a pillar in his kingdom. The people of Umuri adored him, not just because he was their king, but because he was a father to them all. Izobina was known for his skills in resolving disputes among families, communities, and even organizations from neighboring villages. He was also a great warrior in his youth, having led his people to victory against external threats, securing the lands and dignity of Umuri. As he grew older, he transitioned from the battlefield to the throne, where his wisdom became his greatest weapon. He ensured that the community thrived with free education for all children and provided free food for the villagers every fourth market day, a time when yam, ofoha, nkwobi, and abacha were shared generously among the people. Years passed, and Izobina began to feel the weight of age. The once vibrant king, who moved with the grace of a leopard, now walked with the aid of a staff. His body bent but his spirit as strong as ever. He knew that the time had come to prepare his only son, Prince Tamunodi, to take over the throne. According to tradition, the prince needed to marry before turning 25 to be eligible for kingship. Izobina convened a meeting with the elders of his cabinet, trusted chiefs, and respected community leaders under the ancient Iroko tree, the very tree where many decisions shaping the future of Umuri had been made. They discussed various ways to find a wife for the prince, but the suggestion that came from Chief Ordu seemed to carry the weight of destiny. He proposed a grand event where all the maidens of Umuri and surrounding villages would gather, allowing Prince Tamunodi to choose his bride. The king agreed, and soon the town crier announced the gathering throughout Umuri and beyond. The news spread quickly, and the maidens began preparing themselves, wearing their finest Iziagu attire, styling their hair with beads, and practicing their dances for the occasion. Excitement filled the air as everyone anticipated the day of the selection, set just before the Nkwo market day. The long-awaited day arrived, and the village square was filled with the colors of Igbo culture, bright fabrics, beautiful coral beads, and the melodies of traditional drums. Women prepared dishes that spoke to the heart of Igbo cuisine: onugbu soup, jollof rice, and the rich taste of okpa. The event began with prayers to the gods, and Izobina addressed the crowd, reminding them that the chosen bride would become the next queen of Umuri. The maidens showcased their beauty and grace, dancing before the prince with hopes in their eyes. But to everyone's surprise, Prince Tamunodi did not pick any of the maidens who danced before him. Murmurs filled the air, and even the king's face grew heavy with concern. Izobina stood up, asking his son why he had not chosen a wife, reminding him that he would support his decision no matter what. Prince Tamunodi, with a calm voice, assured his father that he had made his choice. He walked past the gathered maidens and approached a young woman who stood on the edge of the crowd. Her name was Ebra, a palace maiden who had served the royal family faithfully. She was a gentle soul who had cared for the prince when he had fallen ill, and her kindness had left a lasting mark on him. As the prince took her hand, the crowd gasped in disbelief. In Umuri, it was considered an abomination for a prince to marry a palace maiden, as they were seen as mere servants, often captured or purchased from neighboring lands during times of conflict. The king's heart tightened with a mix of shock and pride. He remembered his promise and, with a voice that trembled but remained firm, declared his support for his son's choice. He then made a decree. From that day forward, all palace maidens would be granted their freedom and equal rights as citizens of Umuri. The villagers were stunned, but soon they cheered at the king's bold declaration. Ebra, who had never dreamed of such a fate, wept tears of joy as she embraced her newfound freedom and love. The celebration of their union was grand, with traditional chiefs, elders, and guests from far and wide coming to witness the historic moment. But not long after this joyous event, the community of Umuri was shaken by the decline in Izobina's health. The once vibrant king fell seriously ill, and his body, weakened by the years, could no longer sustain him. He spent his final days in the palace, surrounded by his loved ones, including Ebra and Prince Tamunodi, who cared for him tenderly. When the news of his passing spread through Umuri, it was as if a great storm had swept through the village. The villagers gathered under the ancient Iroko tree, mourning the loss of their beloved king. They spoke in hushed tones, saying, "The Iroko has fallen," for Izobina had been the strength of the land, and his passing left a void that seemed impossible to fill. The burial ceremony was a somber yet grand affair, as befitted a king of such stature. Traditional rites were performed over 7 days, with each day marking a different aspect of his life and reign. The elders and chiefs led the villagers in songs of mourning, singing dirges that spoke of the king's valor in battle and his wisdom in peace. His body was adorned in royal regalia, with a staff carved from the Iroko tree placed beside him, a symbol of his connection to the land and his people. On the final day of the burial, the community gathered at the village square, where a pyre was built. As flames consumed the royal wrappings, the elders offered prayers, calling upon the spirits of their ancestors to welcome Izobina into the afterlife. The women wailed, their voices rising like a haunting wind, while the men beat the equi drums, sending the sound far into the night. Izobina's passing marked the end of an era, but as the flames dimmed, Prince Tamunodi stood before the gathered crowd, holding his father's staff. He made a solemn promise to rule with the same compassion, justice, and strength that his father had shown. And when he was crowned the new king, the community began to hope again, knowing that Izobina's legacy would live on through his son. Under King Tamunodi's reign, Umuri experienced a transformation. He welcomed traders from distant lands, opening new markets that turned Umuri into a bustling center of commerce. He built schools, clinics, and roads, ensuring that the prosperity of Umuri reached every corner. He continued his father's practice of free food distribution on the fourth market day, and he even established a fund to support young entrepreneurs and craftsmen. The love between King Tamunodi and Queen Ebera became a symbol of hope and renewal. They raised a family together, and their children grew up knowing the importance of kindness and equality. People from other communities looked to Umuri as a place of opportunity, where tradition and progress walked hand in hand. In the end, the legacy of Izobina Ekechukwu was not only in the stories of the past but in the thriving future that his son built. His memory lived on in the hearts of those who sang songs under the Iroko tree, the tree that now stood as a monument to a king who had once been the heartbeat of Umuri. And whenever the people spoke of their past, they would say, "Even though the Iroko has fallen, its roots remain and new branches grow."
Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Thanks for watching.